Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. My name is David Guidrelli. I am joined by Harman Dial. Patrick Johnson is going to join us on today's show. I like to say every show is a busy show. This one feels like it might be a bit of a busier show. I feel like anyone else is going to be a long segment today, but Harm, the Canucks are in Anaheim. You called it. You were clamoring for Nikita Tolopilo. You were very passionate about it yesterday. Very passionate that Nikita Tolopilo got the start tonight. You get your wish.
Yeah, my guy Nikita Tolopilo, noted Tolopilo hater quads. You're on the Patera. You've been on the Patera beat all year. You talk to the guy in training camp. Tolopilo's always been my guy and my guy only. Your guy Patera got lit up against the Panthers. Meanwhile, my man Tolopilo is cannot here to save the day.
No, you can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do it. I don't know. No. You can't assign me Yuri Patera as my guy.
He's the guy that you spoke to. He's the guy that you went to bat for.
I've been going to bat for Nikita Tolopilo for years, and I'm still going to bat for him. Anyways, lots to get to. Ducks, Canucks tonight. Some other notes, Harm. Thatcher Demko and Teddy Bluger should skate Saturday. There's a practice in LA or morning skate. They're going to have some time on the road. So we knew that Demko was going to be on this trip. Seems like Bluger is as well, and that those two could practice on Saturday.
Yeah, it's on the Demko front. It's encouraging. I mean, for both guys, but especially with Thatcher. And right now you don't have Kevin Lankinen. Of course, you're not going to rush Demko back, but for Demko, when he went down, the concern was how long is this going to keep him out? And is this going to be the kind of injury where it's a long time before we see him even back on the ice? Now, him returning to practice and on the ice doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be back to game action soon, or that when he does return to game action that he'll be able to stay healthy. But at least for his sake, he's been through so much the last couple of years, and as skeptical as I am of his ability to stay healthy long term, I still root for the guy. I still want him to be able to stay healthy because I know how talented he is. We all know how talented he is. But you also just hear his teammates talk about how badly they want to see him able to stay healthy and contribute to this team, because he's worked his tail off coming off from all these injuries. And I can only imagine the mental toll of the constant stop and start and not being able to help the team out in such a critical year. Can only imagine how much that's affected Demko personally as well. So, of course, the Canucks are going to have to be very careful about ramping him up properly, making sure that's not done too quickly, to maximize the odds that when he does return, he's able to stay healthy. But we'll see how it ultimately plays out. It feels like with Demko, the storylines can always change in a matter of days.
Demko loves rushing back. Demko loves getting back to game action. So yeah, hopefully he's taking his time as much as possible. Quickly want to go over the lines courtesy of Dan Murphy. We see these in Scenes from Morning Skate over at CanucksArmy.com. It's Kane, EP40, and DeBrusk, Garland, Camp, Besser, Drew O'Connor, Ratu, Kiefer Sherwood, and Arshdeep Bains back in the lineup, skating with Max Sassone and Linus Karlsson. On defense, Hughes Ronick, DPD and Myers, Marcus Pettersson, and Tom Willander together as well. And as I said earlier, Tolopilo gets the start. Anything you want to dive into specifically on the lineup? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so Tyson Cole and I were having this conversation in the press box where we know the Canucks center options after Elias Pettersson are really limited, and none of the lines that you construct are going to necessarily be optimal. But one tweak that I think is worth exploring is potentially flipping Kampf and Ratu, because I look at a line of Garland, Besser, and then a center down the middle, whether it's Kampf or Ratu. To me, that's a line that has to manufacture offense. That's a line that you expect to create, to make things happen in the attacking zone. Whereas I look at David Kampf, he's an offensive black hole. We know that he's a defensive specialist. I would much rather see him with Sherwood and O'Connor, knowing that Sherwood and O'Connor, I know they've been lighting things up offensively this year, but they're more suited for a checking defensive role where they can take on more defensive starts. And I think that line just stylistically works a little bit better. And then you can have Ratu up with Garland and Besser, where I think Ratu has a really underrated shot in the slot. He generates a ton of torque and velocity from it, especially the high slot area. And I'd be curious to see whether Garland and Ratu can develop some chemistry, because Garland is a player that, because of how he skates pucks up the ice, how elusive he is down low, we know that he can command and draw attention towards him, which can create space for others around him. And I just wonder if Garland can be the playmaker to maybe unlock some of Ratu's shooting ability. Whereas Ratu playing with O'Connor and Sherwood have performed well this year, but they're shot first players. They don't have any, I shouldn't say any, but they don't have the kind of playmaking creativity that O'Connor Garland does.
Ratu's deployment, ice time, and who he's going up against kind of tells us that Adam Foote maybe doesn't trust him all that much defensively. Do you think the head coach just kind of needs to look past those concerns that he has and make it a Garland, Ratu, Besser trio? And do you worry at all about those defensive concerns?
Well, Ratu hasn't been perfect defensively by any means in that Calgary game. For instance, I want to say on the Flames' second goal, he was slow picking up on the rebound, but on the whole, his defensive metrics this season have been pretty solid, which I referenced before. I'll also say this, despite the low ice time, Adam Foote hasn't been super prescribed in the sense of protecting Ratu matchups wise. In the Dallas game, for example, Ratu played, you look at his head-to-head 5-on-5 minutes, Adam Foote actually used Ratu's line quite a bit against the Mikko Rantanen line, with the idea that Foote wanted to free up the Elias Pettersson line to have softer matchups and maybe cook more offensively. So Ratu's in an interesting spot where the ice time hasn't been there, but then you also have the Dallas game where, okay, he's not necessarily playing a lot, but when he's playing, he's going up against the Mikko Rantanen line, which you wouldn't do unless you had some baseline level of trust in Ratu defensively. So I don't think that should be too prohibitive. And let's be honest, what have we seen from David Kampf?
100% agree.
That says he demands top six deployment right now, that he deserves to play with Garland and Besser. Plus, if you flip him down, again, it's not a huge downgrade in line mate quality. He's playing with Sherwood and O'Connor, two of the team's better forwards this year. Anyway.
We'll dive into the Anaheim side of things afterwards, but I want to get to Patrick Johnston. He joins us now. He's a presentation of our friends over at Greta, a great spot for all games, home and away. You can skip the line and not to pay cover on game nights if you're wearing the home team's gear. And of course, there's also the game day specials at Greta, including $3.33 off select food items, $3.33 on select drinks, and more. With the arcade, bar, and street food menu, make Greta your spot to watch the next game. Patrick Johnston, the author of Gino, the fighting spirit of Gino Ojic. You can see it right behind me. Joins us now. Patrick, thanks for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Great to be back.
Yeah, great to have you back. We're going to talk about the book.
That's beautiful.
I want to talk about the book, but before we do that, your sit-down interview with Jim Rutherford.
Yes.
It's the talk of the town, Patrick. Nicely done. First of all, I texted you that. That was very good to get Jim's kind of thoughts on it. And really, what I took away from that interview was him kind of making their direction clear.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big takeaway from it. But what did you take away from that conversation with Jim?
I mean, in the end, when to be clear, I texted him. I saw the sort of reports that had oozed out over the day on Monday, and I thought, well, how can I try to advance this my own way? And yeah, I texted him and I said, hey, got a moment. And so when Jim calls you, you know that first of all, he's responding to your request, but also it's a good chance, especially on a day like this, he knows what's going on. So he's going to have something he wants to say. And that's why, you'd be ready with a bunch of questions, things like, okay, so what's going on? And he went right at it and said, yeah, Patrick called around and said, we have these four guys right now that we're definitely, prepared to trade. And those are the kind of guys that move at the deadline. And yeah, we need to mix it up. And, then it goes, okay, what's the purpose here? And he makes it clear. This is about, which is what I had nodded at. It was kind of made me chuckle a little bit because it's, I basically written this on Friday, although I didn't have his voice in the story. It was clear when you talk to people that while they weren't saying the word rebuild, they were focused on young players. And I see Drancer, said that as well yesterday before I got my interview. This is a team that is focused on a direction. Now, how they got there, you can take issue with, but this is very much a focus on, we need to get younger. What we have here isn't enough. We need more young guys. And that was the message he clearly wanted to get across. And the fact that also on top of that, they're willing to take draft picks, because that was something that I think we had all been unsure about. And I sort of, my boss sort of talked to me after, Paul Chapman, and I said, we talked about what it was. And then I realized, wait, hold on. Did I actually get him to say draft picks? And, and I texted him just to kind of underscore it. He goes, yes. Obviously we prefer players, but, draft picks are there. And I went and looked, and he actually said draft picks twice in the interview. So, they are very clear in what this message is going to be. Yeah. And I think you're right. Like he is underscoring, this is what we want to do. This is certainly what the plan is now. Like, as I said, you can quibble with how they've gotten to this point, but there's certainly a message he's trying to articulate.
I imagine their conversations now will start with the more obvious pending UFAs, guys like Kiefer Sherwood, Teddy Bluger at some point, even though he's hurt, Evander Kane. But if we think closer to the actual trade deadline, and setting aside the Quinn Hughes conversation for a moment, because that's its own thing, but how deep do you think the Canucks will be willing to go with respect to legitimately listening to guys? Are we just talking about a situation where they're predominantly only listening to the pending UFAs, or do you anticipate that as this team gets closer to the deadline, that they'll perhaps be open-minded on more of their veterans with term, whether it's guys like Garland or even some of the guys that have some degree of trade protection, whether it's Lankinen, Hronek, Marcus Pettersson, these kinds of guys? How deep do you think they could go?
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Garland. Obviously, I brought his name up the other day and sort of said, "Listen, a couple of people in the league." I said, "Do you think they would trade him?" And they said, "Yeah, I think they would think about it, right? Like that they're in a spot." But I mean, that was also, it's one of those ones where you phrase it in a certain way, people are going to go bananas. They're not shopping him, right? Like that's not something that's happening. But you're absolutely right. Like, okay, and as I wrote in my thing on Friday, was like, if your task is to try to find a second line center for the future, how do you find a younger player who might be able to become one? Well, you've got to trade someone who's got value right now. And that's where, say a guy like Sherwood, who's obviously having a great season, or a guy like Connor Garland, who's been a consistent performer since he arrived here, right? Has a contract. We've long understood Jim Rutherford to be a guy who believes that if you have a player signed to an extension, that actually helps your cause. Now, whether that's true or not, I'm not sure, but that certainly has been his position in the past. That this is a guy that, if this season continues to go sour, we're talking about, it's not just blow it up. We're not just talking about making a few tweaks. Like, it's a case of like, it's blow it up time. I don't think we're there. We're clearly not there yet. I mean, that was something that Rutherford made clear, was that right now, this is all we're talking about. Of course, their dream is that they'll bring in a couple of young guys that we haven't thought about, and this will turn things around. And all of a sudden, they'll have this exciting young team that's led by Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson, and they're banking back towards the playoffs, right? But I think you're absolutely right. Like, is this all the players we've just mentioned? I mean, it is funny. Even Evander Kane, like, these are all guys, and Rutherford was right. I really nodded along with that. These are guys that do get moved at the deadline. Wingers on expiring contracts who can score a little bit. Centers who take big faceoffs like Teddy Bluger. I mean, you're right, injured right now, but if he's healthy, we'll see what happens. Teddy Bluger's been traded at the deadline before. Evander Kane, guy who's been traded around, and obviously the Canucks took a flyer on him. And he's got 3 goals. So, does he bring enough to the table that another team might want him as like a fourth line, kind of make a mess kind of winger? I don't know. But there's certainly guys here right now that they can move. Then it becomes, what do you need to do next? How does it all fit together? They do have too many wingers, right? In theory, they have too many wingers. If you trade Sherwood, do you keep Garland, right? Like, I think how this all develops will tell the story in terms of what else they're willing to move. But again, underline, the focus is younger players that can grow together, is what I mean, is certainly the sense that you're getting from Rutherford.
PJ, we got a question in the chat for you from
Yeah.
Brad. He said they are willing to take draft picks, but what are the chances they actually use them?
Well, yeah, exactly, right? Like that, we've seen this before, right? I mean, the currency is a draft pick, right? Like fourth rounders come and go, right? First rounders have come and gone. No, I think you're exactly right. They're not opposed to the idea of taking on a draft pick, but that you're absolutely right. I didn't actually ask Rutherford, would you then use that draft? You know, he wouldn't have said that anyway. He would have said,
Sure.
listen, everything is good. You need stuff in your bag. They don't have enough stuff in their bag right now.
You also asked Jim about Quinn Hughes, and Jim's answer to that question got some attention and made some rounds on Twitter. First of all, what did you make of Jim's response? How did you interpret it? And then earlier today as well, Frank Seravalli had a report where he seems to think that Quinn is still committed to the Canucks. Where do you stand on the answer Jim gave you about Quinn's future, and then just broadly Quinn's future and the chances of the Canucks being able to sell him on what's next?
Yeah, I mean, at a certain level, like, what are sources going to say, right? Like, I have people saying he's frustrated. So, but of course he's frustrated because the team stinks. Like, it was a very careful answer. What I mean, he knew I was going to ask it, and I framed it exactly how I basically wrote it in the story. I said, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Where, is this a plan? Is this the kind of thing that you'll have gone over with Quinn? And we saw the answer. He was very careful, like, basically saying, listen, we have talked to him. He knows what we're doing. But it wasn't like, yes, Quinn's all behind us, right? Like, he didn't jump out of his chair. Because I think in the end, he's playing it smart. Like, nothing is, I say this all the time, nothing is ever certain in hockey until it's done. And even then, you're maybe not sure, right? Like, if Quinn's going to stay, and there's a total grand slam lockdown guarantee, he now owns part of the team. I mean, he can't own part of the team, but you know what I mean? Like, how do you guarantee that Quinn is going to be here forever, right? You actually can't. Like, Trevor Linden got traded, like guys that you thought would be here forever got traded. People, it happens all the time. So I think just from that perspective, it makes sense for him being careful. Now, obviously, in the bigger picture, people want to hear, no, Quinn's going nowhere. He loves it here. He's never going to leave. He wants us to trade for his brothers, on and on and on. Like, that's the dream answer. It's just not going to happen. It was a very cautious answer. It caught me exactly the same way that, Jim definitely paused to just make sure he got the answer right. And was nuanced in the sense of, we know what our position is. They know what our position is. They know what their position is. People are going to make decisions. Winning in a certain level, I found myself wondering a little. Maybe I should have followed up with on the winning point, but like, there were certain levels. He's like, yeah, winning matters, but other things do too. So, I mean, that was a recognition that sometimes things aren't just in their control. So yeah, here we are. I mean, nothing's changed, right? Like, it's exactly, we're in the same spot as where we were last, what was it, May or April, when Jim brought it up that this is going to be a topic, and I know we're going to keep talking about it, right? Yeah, so we're still there.
Patrick, Harm, do you have any more questions?
I'm good.
Okay. This Geno book, tell us about it. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet. I'll tell you what.
Come on, Davey, what are you doing?
Well, listen. You might not know this, so I'll tell you this because we didn't get a chance to talk. Well, yeah, that's what I've been busy with. I was at your book event, your book launch event. I was very happy to be there.
Yeah.
Me and Chris Faber waited patiently in line.
Yes.
And then as we were getting to the front, it was like you sent your security after us.
What happened?
Well, she came up to us and was like, "Hey guys, we're gonna stop the signing because we're gonna start over here.
Okay.
Patrick's gonna go speak." I was like, "Oh my gosh, too big for old Faber and Quads."
That was them.
Patrick,
that was them. No, it's because I knew
know.
you'd come back. It's because I knew you and you wouldn't be insulted.
Well, I saw you whisper in her ear right before she came to talk to us. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, my point is, I haven't gotten it signed yet. So I need to come.
Yeah, you left. What happened? I was looking for you.
I was looking for you. Well,
I was at Celebrity anyway.
You did a great job. Dave,
Dave,
but
it was wonderful to see you.
Yeah, a lineup of people waiting for you. And then I even said to Chris, actually, the truth is, Chris had his child at home and we had to get back to his house. So I said, "Oh, I'm going to wait for PJ." And he's like, "You're going to see him like 7 times. A lot of these people aren't going to see him like ever again." So I was like, "Okay, I'm going to make sure I get this signed, but I'll see you in the press box to get it signed, basically.
Yeah.
Actually, I might just drive to your
Yeah,
house. I might
come
not
to my
go
house.
to, yeah.
Come on.
Anyways, my question for you about the book was just like the experience of doing it. I know we've talked about the book before, but just
Yeah.
like, was there anything now that it's, you've seen it in your hands, you felt it in your hands, was there anything that surprised you about writing the book? Like any story or anything that just kind of surprised you when you were writing the book, even just with the process?
Well, I mean, the process, once you get going, and guys, I don't know how long standard story length that Canucks Army is or the Athletic is, but I can tell that our sort of daily story tradition, because it's still there's still a bit of a print element to what we do. I mean, we obviously write long. If we have to write long, we write long. But our general way of thinking is we do about 700 words. And so the book was, in the end, I think it hit 80, but the sort of contract was 75. And that's, 100 and some stories in a book. And so, sitting back when they say, this is how many words you're going to have to deliver, that's intense.
Yeah.
But then you kind of break it down. You just you realize you chunk it out. And that's why you do the outline, all these things. So like that part was not a surprise. That was actually in the end, like, there's all that's kind of like, how do I make it all work? And, did I say this already? And have I mentioned this person before? And how do I make it all kind of smooth? And if there was a bit of a hurdle right at the end in terms of us editing it. No, like in the end, that process was very much as I hoped it would go. I think honestly, and I think I've said this before, but it's that sort of element of recognizing that Gino was very much who you'd hoped he'd be. That the old story, never meet your heroes because they're bound to disappoint you kind of thing, because they're just regular people. He was a guy that did care about everyone around him. The level of sort of love his teammates had for him was really amazing. You talk to every single one of these guys, even guys who weren't interviewed for the book. Their eyes light up thinking about what he meant to their team and what he meant to the Canucks, especially that period. Trevor Linden agreeing with me, basically the premise that I kind of realized it was, we all think of there's this trade in March 91, bringing in Jeff Courtnall, Cliff Ronning, Sergio Momesso, and Robert Dirk, which kind of resets the whole lineup and kind of culminates in the 94 run. But really, Gino making the team in 1990, in the November 1990, almost 35 years to the day, in fact, he set the tone. Like that was the beginning of that new era of that team. And so that was just it was just kind of a neat, that was neat. I don't know if it's surprising, but it was just remarkable to see. And then people in real life, between his kids or his, partners or, friends, like the level of loyalty from his friends that I spoke with from back home, especially, it was remarkable. I mean, we all should wish to have left such an impact. It's sad he's gone, but the impact remains, as Peter has said, and his sister Dina has said, now Gino lives forever. So I'm glad we did it. I'm proud of what we produced.
Gino, the fighting spirit of Gino Ojic. You can see it behind me, folks. Written by our pal Patrick. Makes a great Christmas gift. Gift
please.
For the Canucks fan.
Books to bookstores everywhere. Greystone books online, Indigo, anything like that.
Beautiful. And go support your local bookstore. I love going to bookstores.
Yeah, you would.
I'm not the best reader, but I like going to bookstores. Patrick,
you're a great reader. You read stuff all the time. It's just that you're worn out once you're into your day job. That's the problem.
That's actually, thank you. You know what? Someone tell my wife this. Okay, so you know my wife. She's read 60 books this year.
That's awesome.
She's read
I'm
60
proud
books.
of her.
Unbelievable. And I'm trying to reach my goal of 2, and I really was delayed on it, but I'm working through number 1 right now.
The trick is to start finding ways to
number
read.
2.
The trick is to find ways for work. I know Harm does this, but you got to find stuff. That's the old, whatever you're reading right now is often the best source. I mean, Cam Sharon used to do this all the time at historic Canucks Army stories. He would incorporate whatever he was reading. He'd find something interesting in it and he'd throw it into a story. And that was a good way to find kids out there. Good way to find new story ideas. Find somebody else's.
Love it. Patrick, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
There he is, Patrick Johnston. Like I said, Gino, fighting spirit of Gino Ojic. Go out, buy it. Makes a great Christmas present. And also, we should say as well, the article that we were referring to, the province.com, what was it titled? It was something like Time to Trade Everyone. Yeah, Time to Trade. Not everyone. It did not say Time to Trade Everyone. It said Time to Trade. Jim Rutherford says Canucks need to get younger. Go read it, theprovince.com, courtesy of Patrick Johnston. Yeah, I really am. Oh, this is a good one. I really am only at 2 books this year. And I have this app. No free ads, of course, on Canucks Army. but I have this app that helps me track my reading, and like I can see how many books I read in previous years, and I read 10 books last. Wait, hold on. Yeah, I read 10 books last year. No, sorry. I had a goal of 10 books. I read 5. The year before that, I read 0. The year before that, now we're at 2022, I read 3, and my goal was 10. This year I had a goal of 2, and I didn't reach it. Well, I might. I still got time. Like I'm finished. I'm working through number 1 right now, and then Gino right here is going to be number 2. I'm trying to get through it, but I basically realized that I take like take a year off reading for pleasure. Like I read every second year, it feels like.
Yeah, I tend to read in the spring and summer because there's no hockey, so I end up having a bunch more free time. But then as soon as hockey season starts, it's over for me because we're reading and writing all day. It's a mentally demanding job, especially the hours we're putting in. Love our job, obviously, but the last thing I want to do when it's, I don't know, 8, 9 p.m.
Yeah.
is read a book. I'd rather, I don't know, go to the gym or watch a show. I don't even have time to watch shows. I just turn on sports. I just turn on another hockey game. So
I like the idea of a book club because it helps keep you motivated. We should start the Canucks Conversation book club. You and I.
Yeah.
All right, chat. Let us know if
our reading goal one book a year.
Yeah, 1 book a year. We're gonna read 2 pages every day. You take a little bite out of the elephant every day. Yeah, chat. Let us know if you'd like Canucks Conversation book club. Jacob, are you much of a reader?
No, I'm not. I used to be, but not anymore.
People, you should read. That's my new thing. I'm gonna start telling people they should read.
Yeah, the guy that never reads is preaching about.
Well,
you guys gotta read.
I'm not saying I'm clearly I'm not proud of the fact that I don't read. I think it's good. People should read for pleasure. It helps. It helps you be smarter.
Yeah, when I was in university, I read so much for school that I took like about a year off, and then I'm like, I'm going to read for pleasure, and I did for about a year and a half, and since then it's been hard to keep up.
Jack Hughes has a book club. People in the chat are saying join the. Do you know about this?
I haven't heard of this. Jack Hughes reads.
That's exactly what I was going to say. What do we
but...
read? Cat in the Hat. Jack Hughes.
What does he read? Cat in the Hat.
Oh, what? Oh yeah! Wow. You know what? I take it back, and that was an unfair shot because Jack and Luke have a book club, and we know Quinn's a big reader. Quinn's a big reader, but apparently his brothers are too. Excited. Yeah, I guess they went to college. Yeah, nice. This is actually okay. Wow. Jack, what? Jack read 50 books during a hockey season.
Really?
Yeah. We got no excuse. Wow. We have no excuse.
I mean, but if he can read on the plane, if he skips the poker table or the movies, you can get through a lot of books.
Pretty insane. That's impressive.
That's really good for a pro athlete who also is playing at a high level too. But anyway.
Now, in fairness, and I don't mean this as a joke, he usually misses about 20 games a year. So I wonder how many of those are when he's. I did not mean that as a joke.
I don't mean that as a joke. Says the funniest possible thing.
It's being serious. When you have, I mean, it's like 20 games that you can look at a couple months off where you're basically not working other than rehabbing your injury.
People are talking about audiobooks. I've got one audiobook going. But anyways, we're getting very off topic. I said it was a busy show and somehow we got talking about reading. Go buy PJ's book, folks. Gino, The Fighting Spirit of Gino Ojic. All right. Let's get to our Movember ad read. Movember. All right. The leading charity dedicated to changing the face of men's health because healthier men mean a healthier world. This is the 19th annual campaign for Movember in Canada, raising funds and awareness for men's health across the country. Since 2003, over 6 million people have raised funds for Movember. In 2024, over 47,000 Canadians participated, and the movement continues to grow. Donate at Movember.com today and be part of changing the face of men's health in Canada. Harm, you feeling like talking numbers?
I am. Let's transition to the stat of the day, which is a presentation of Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fans hockey experience all season long. Hashtag craves the stats. I'm excited for the game tonight. I have loved watching the Ducks play all year. Another reason to watch a Ducks game. I'm excited for it. And I was curious. I was looking into, all right, the Ducks have had this offensive explosion. Coaching change is part of it. We know that young players are driving this evolution forward. I wanted to see where the guys that have really leading the charge have been drafted, because it ties back into the Canucks and this conversation about, well, how do you, whether you want to call it a retool or a rebuild, how do you get back to being a good team down the road? And if you look at the Ducks top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 scorers, 4 of them were top 5 picks, right? So you have Leo Carlson, who was the 2023 draft class, 2nd overall behind Connor Bedard. Cutter Gauthier, now they traded for him, but he was picked 5th by Philly, and they gave up Jamie Drysdale, who they had selected 6th overall, I believe, in a draft class around that time as well. You then look at 19-year-old Beckett Seneca, 16 points in 22 games. That guy is nasty. I don't know how much of Beckett Seneca you've seen. And I know he was a bit of a reach, 3rd overall at 2024. People were surprised that he went that early ahead of guys like Demidov. But this guy he has some young Corey Perry to him, where he's 6'3", the net front instincts, the edge, and the nastiness that he kind of plays with. But on top of that, he's got so much speed and skill attacking off the rush. That's elite level talent that you get when you're drafting top 3. And then their second line center, of course, Mason McTavish. He was the number 3 pick in the 2021 entry draft. So you look at the core of this of this Ducks team, and it's come from players that were drafted in the top 5. The other top scorers that they have are Troy Terry. He was obviously in 2015, he was a 5th round pick. That's a once in a blue moon. You hit an absolute grand slam. And then Chris Kreider, who they traded for, and he's been phenomenal in the first unit power play. But really, the nucleus of this Ducks team has come from drafting really, really high. And forget even just the back half of the first round. We're not even talking about players that were drafted in the 10 to 15 range. This is right at the top. As far as how they found their elite difference makers.
And can I make a further point on this Ducks roster, Harm, that a guy like Jackson Lacombe, a really good 2-3 defenseman on this Ducks team, but really good for them. Really good young defenseman they've signed now long-term, 39th overall. So as we talk about the Canucks veterans, like, you're not getting a top 5 pick for Kiefer Sherwood or any of these guys that they're looking to move, but can you get like a late first? Can you get an early 2nd round pick? Can you get just a 2nd round pick and load up on some 2nd, 3rd round picks and then continue to draft well in that range? Because that's how you go find those supporting pieces, right? And yeah, I just wanted to make that point as well, that you're right. And it goes back to the conversation we've been having for a long time that, oh yeah, we're just a few pieces away. Well, those few pieces are found in the top 3, top 5 of the NHL draft, and you're going to need to get there if you want to go get those pieces, but also important to load up on draft picks as well.
Yeah, and Zellweger's another example. Zellweger's broken out as a top 4 defenseman. He's actually leapfrogged Minchikov on the depth chart, left side defense. He was an early 2nd round pick. So it's not to say that anything outside of the top 5, top 10 doesn't matter, but it's volume. It's what Botch always used to say about, you need to build an army, right? You need both. You need the difference makers at the very top, and then you want to accumulate as many picks as you can everywhere else in the draft, so that you have as many lottery tickets to strike gold once in a while outside of the top 10, top 15 as well.
All right. Anything else you want to say about the Ducks before we get to anyone else?
No, I feel like we've spoken about the Ducks a lot, even before today's show.
Yeah, we've talked about them on non-Canucks Ducks game days.
Yeah, so I feel like we've given the Ducks enough credit for being a fun team, fun dynamic team to watch. It's going to be a track meet style game that they play if they're on it, right? Some nights you're off and can't execute the way that you want to play. But if all goes to plan, they're going to be run and gun, and that means action at both ends of the rink, where they're fun and dynamic offensively, but they still don't really know how to defend in their own zone. So that'll be something to keep an eye on tonight.
All right, let's get to anyone else today. It is presented by Pacific Toyota Dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. You can drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone, then seamlessly transition from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. There's no sacrifices when it comes to horsepower style with its sleek, low and wide exterior and sophisticated interior. It's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. You can plug in to recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public charging stations in BC alone. And now you can lease a 2025 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down. And it includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right, a few things. You brought it up today. Frank Seravalli going on Halford and Brough on Sportsnet 650 talking about the Canucks, and PJ kind of threw some cold water on this as well with I've heard that he's frustrated, and I don't know. I don't doubt that someone close to Hughes would say that, yeah, he's committed to Vancouver. Like Quinn said that he's committed to Vancouver. Does he have plans right now of leaving? No, probably not. Basically all I'm saying is what was said today when I listened to it, like it didn't really come off as much. It didn't come off as much of a surprise with what was actually being said. It just doesn't change anything for me.
Yeah, I think the quote made it seem more revealing than Frank's actual answer.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, it is still somewhat encouraging for Canucks fans to hear.
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to sign an extension, but what PJ said is also true, where a lot of times you assume what's going to happen between a player and a team, and both parties can genuinely feel that way too. It's not as if people's intel is necessarily wrong at the time when they say, oh, we're expecting this player to maybe leave, or this team isn't going to re-sign this guy, or whatever the case is. Things change. Things can change very, very quickly. And really, we're going to get the actual sense of where Quinn's head is at when the Canucks inevitably choose to sit down and have that hard conversation. And if the season keeps going the way it has been, then we've had a bunch of the local media in this market speculating that those conversations could be had sooner rather than later. So that's going to be what we actually keep an eye on. And ultimately, I feel like we're going to get a sense of what direction this is going within a few months before the deadline. It doesn't mean that if the Canucks find out Quinn doesn't want to resign, that they'll be dealing him at the deadline per se. But the point being, I think just generally speaking, they internally will have a clear understanding of how Quinn is thinking over the next few months, and we'll then have to craft a plan accordingly.
Irfan Gafar, our pal, and David Pagnotta talked about this today on the Daily Faceoff Rundown. The Daily Faceoff Rundown Inside.
I have the quotes right here, actually.
Oh, hit it.
Yeah. So Irf said that basically the entire Canucks roster is on the table except for Quinn Hughes, but that's only right now, and that Irf believes a move could happen eventually, or at the very least the Canucks would listen eventually. And then Dave Pagnotta followed up by essentially saying he talked to someone very close to the Quinn Hughes camp, and the message that was relayed to him was all the power lies with Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes holds all the cards. If Quinn Hughes wants to leave or wants to get traded, I should say, Quinn Hughes will get traded. Those were David Pagnotta's words coming from someone close to Quinn Hughes. So I think the Frank Seravalli quote saying he's committed to Vancouver, I understand why, Quinn and his reps would say that, but it seems like from what PJ kind of mentioned and what from Irf and David are talking about, it seems more like, hey, things right now are probably not on the table. Our trade right now is probably not on the table, but that can change very quickly. And if it does, it's going to be Quinn that dictates when and how it happens.
Irf wrote something today for Canucks Army as well that I want to quickly get into. Talking about Kiefer Sherwood, Irf believes that the Canucks would like younger players over draft picks, but we'll see. They're open to draft picks, but we'll see what they really want in
I
this
don't
trade.
like.
And then neither do I.
Like hearing that.
Neither do I. Well, also, I just said, yeah, Irf wrote this, but like PJ just said when he was talking to Rutherford, he's like, well, obviously we'd want young players, but draft picks too.
I'd prefer just getting straight up the draft currency unless there's a clear win on the table. Because if you're asking for younger players, let's say that are in the 22 to 24-year-old range, then chances are that they either haven't been on the best path development wise, they haven't been panning out, and or their ceiling is a little bit lower because there's less development runway left.
Yes.
So I understand being open-minded, and it's not to say you should never target younger players. And in fact, depending on who you're shopping, you actually prefer sometimes trading for established prospects. But when we're talking about a Kiefer Sherwood, what young player are you going to get that's really gonna move the needle? Unless you're talking about a 19-year-old prospect, a 20-year-old prospect, that's totally fine. But anyone older than that range, I feel like at a certain point you're going to start sacrificing upside, just to get a body.
100% agree. Last thing from Murph that I wanted to quickly plug was Derek Forbert's injury. Just a little clarity on it. Looks like a what did he say? Yeah, groin / abdominal issue. And Forbert's, yeah, it's been such a weird thing with Forbert because he wasn't expected to be out that long, and it's not
not at all.
Everybody's like, oh, Canucks medical staff malpractice. Like, no, it's just sometimes these things happen. Like the player and the team both thought he wouldn't be out this long, and it's been a weird healing process for Forbert. So go read that. Irf's monthly Canucks musings over at canucksarmy.com. New edition of it dropped today. All right, folks, get your anyone else questions in. Want to see what people want to talk about today? Swerve and Irvin said, what I want to know is how the heck did Dallas hit on so many draft picks?
Well, this is where sometimes it's tough to figure out how much of a team's drafting was their process was unbelievable, and year in, year out, they've succeeded at this, versus did you have a year or two where you just got lucky and everything hit? Because, I mean, sure, some teams like Anaheim and Washington, year in, year out, for a really long track record, they've been well above average at drafting and developing NHL players. Now, the run that the Stars have been on since 2017 is obviously ridiculous, right? We can first look at that 2017 draft where their first three picks were Miro Heiskanen, Jake Ottinger, and Jason Robertson. You got three franchise pillars there. 2019 draft, they scoop up Thomas Harley, 18th overall. Then they hit on Maverick Bourque with their next first-round pick, Wyatt Johnston, Logan Stankoven in the second round of the 2021 draft, who they parlayed in a package along with a couple of first-round picks to go and get Mikko Rantanen. So since 2017, undeniably one of the best drafting teams in the NHL. Yet you look at their drafting record before that, and the storylines were completely different. The storylines were, how long has it been since Stars have actually hit on a first-round pick? And that's notable because there hasn't been a management change at Dallas. Right? Yeah. Jim Nill's been the guy in charge for a really, really long time. And so you can look, it's 2009, 8th overall pick, Scott Glennie, right?
What?
Yeah, he had one game played in the NHL. He was center that they took out of the WHL. Their next first round pick, sorry, that was in 2009. 2010, their next first round pick was 11th overall, Jack Campbell. He didn't pan out for them. 2011, 14th overall. All right, that was a hit. They got Jamie Alexiak. 2012, 13th overall pick, Radek Faksa. Now, Faksa's been a fine bottom six center, but at 13th overall, it's not the best outcome to get a player that's mostly been a fourth line center in the NHL. 2013, 10th overall pick, they drafted Valenchushkin, who they weren't able to develop into anything. And eventually they cut bait with and lost for essentially nothing. And he only figured it out in Colorado. Then 2014, 14th overall pick, Julius Honka. He ended up being a bust. And it's only like, and then you keep going. Now they did have in 2015 second round pick, they got Rope Hintz. But even then, 2015 12th overall pick, Denis Gurianov, he didn't really pan out. He was only effective for a few seasons. And then 2016 first round pick was your boy Riley Tuft, who obviously hasn't turned into an NHLer either. So the point being, they've been one of the best drafting teams since 2017. But before that, the last several years, they were one of the worst drafting teams in the first round. And it's all been under the same management regime. So I don't know what's changed. Maybe there was an overhaul. I haven't dug into it. Maybe they overhauled their scouting department, their philosophy. But it's crazy how they completely flipped the 180.
Yeah, it has to be. I wonder what the actual story is there. Jacob, book Jim Nill. Let's see what he's doing differently these days. All right. Anything else that's pressing that you want to get to? I did want to say,
Quads, you have the foot clip that you wanted for 2 days, and we can finally get.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Hachiroku in the chat said Riley Tuff mentioned, so Quad smiles. I think I did as soon as you said Riley Tuff's name. Okay, yes, I wanted to plug this, and not plug, really just like bring some attention to it because it kind of got lost in the shuffle, I think, with all the stuff that's happened this week, especially when it comes to trade rumors. Tyson Cole actually wrote about this today, about how the Canucks shouldn't really be using the injury excuse nearly as much as they have been. And Tyson did a great job. You can go read it, CanucksArmy.com. And it's funny because what sparked this idea for Tyson was him asking this question to Adam Foote and the answer that the Canucks head coach gave him. Let's play the clip, Jacob.
About the goals against, and you lead the NHL in that category in total goals against. Coming into the season, your team was viewed as the strength being defense and goaltending. So what do you attribute to all those goals?
You already know. That's our injuries. Mm-hmm. It's just that simple. Like, it's logical, right? Mm-hmm. So, I can't just fire something out there to change the facts. And, we'll continue to teach until these guys keep getting it and, get the reps, and we'll get guys back.
It's not that simple, though.
I didn't like that answer.
I didn't like that answer. That answer really bothered me. I think it bothered Tyson a bit, too. So he wrote about it today at Canucks Army, and I think it's a really good point that, Demko, Hedl, we've talked about this, like, those guys had huge question marks coming into the season, so you can't pretend like that just came out of nowhere, and oh my goodness, like, I can't believe Philip Hedl's hurt with another concussion. I can't believe Thatcher Demko has another injury to his lower body. I can't believe it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so you don't really get that excuse, and Foote didn't sign those contracts. Foote didn't make those decisions, right? So I'm not singling
that part
Adam
is
Foote
on
out.
management.
That part's on management. But the part I am saying is, like, Adam Foote's the spokesperson for the franchise on a day-to-day basis, right? And the question was, why has your team that was built on goaltending and defense, why have you given up the most goals in the league? And I think part of that answer is, and Adam Foote even kind of said it himself with the, we'll continue to teach what? The new system that people are starting to wonder, is it working for this group of players? Is this group of players able to play it? It's a conversation we had last week. I had the whiteboard out last week. I think Tyson just did a really, really good job with that. And I think it was, like you said, didn't like the answer. I don't think it got enough attention because of all the stuff that was going on. I wanted to at least make sure we brought it up and that we gave Tyson his flowers, because I think he did a really good job, A, asking the question, and then B, writing off of it.
Well, also, I brought up the Carolina Hurricanes example before of how many back-end injuries they've had and how they still lead the Eastern Conference and have above-average defensive metrics. But leaving that example aside, how about the Vancouver Canucks of last year? last year's Canucks were hammered by injuries too. You look at how many key contributors they were missing. Do you remember around this time last year, Philip Hronek was out for weeks, and that meant Noah Juleson was playing top 4 minutes for this team? Noah Juleson, I remember games against Colorado where Rick Tocchet used the Noah Juleson pair head-to-head against Nathan MacKinnon. And he really had not a lot of other great options because the right side was so thin, and the overall construction of that blue line, this is obviously before Marcus Pettersson and all those guys had been acquired. The blue line was in shambles last year. And yet last season, they still ranked as a top 10 team at suppressing 5-on-5 shots and expected goals against. The bottom didn't just fall out on them defensively. Yeah, they had nights where they struggled, right? This wasn't the elite level that they were defending at during the previous year where they won the division, but most nights they still had a baseline level of defensive play where you just look at the metrics. They were actually pretty decent for the Canucks defensively. That was a year where Thatcher Demko only played 23 games. Yep. It was a year where Quinn Hughes only played 68 games. And oh, by the way, a lot of the games they played in the second half, he was playing through multiple injuries. Brock Besser missed games in November when he got concussed by Tanner Jeannot. Elias Pettersson only played 64 games. You had JT Miller, who was, took his personal leave of absence and then was traded. And then when Philip Hedl came in, he got hurt down the stretch. Nils Höglander was hurt last year as well. Hronek, I mentioned, only played 61 games. Myers played 71 games. You had a lot of significant absences last year as well, and yet the bottom didn't fall out defensively nearly as badly as it has this year.
Some questions being asked, Harm. Some questions being asked about the system, right? Okay. Yeah.
Now, and to clarify, I'm not trying to insinuate by any means that Adam Foote is the main reason this team has underperformed by any means. He's way down the list of things that have gone wrong.
Exactly.
This year.
Yeah.
But it's just, let's not use injuries as a catch-all excuse for what's happened.
Yeah. For dead last in the NHL in goals against, it's not a catch-all. It's not. Canucks aren't dead last anymore though, because last night the Edmonton Oilers had themselves a doozy. I called it. What did I say? What did I say last night? Bet365 bet of the day. What did I say? I said, I think the Dallas Stars will beat the Edmonton Oilers, and they beat them 8-3. So the Oilers are now dead last in the NHL.
They're actually not, though. NHL.com has them 30th. Canucks are still 3.74 goals against per game, 32nd.
No. Wait. Hold on. Yeah, per game. I'm talking about the raw total.
Sure, but okay, you want to use raw totals instead of
Harmon only uses per game stats, Quads.
But they were by raw total. They were
sure. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Get your per 60s out of my face.
Harmon's so disappointed right now that Quads is using raw totals when teams have played vastly different numbers of games.
Come on, when we talk about the power play, do you cite how many raw power play goals the team has or how many raw PK? I mean, sure, once in a while, but
totally different. Okay,
all right.
When we say a team has the most goals against,
Quad's the type of guy to say points percentage is a scam. Only use raw points in the standings.
Canucks are close, baby. Don't sell anyone. Canucks are close. Canucks are only how many spots out of a playoff spot right now?
No. If you want to make a case, you don't say how many spots. You say how many points are.
How many points? Yes. Hang on. Let me figure it out. Let me look. I just gotta scroll a bit.
Scroll a bit.
They're only 7 points out, man. You rattle off a few wins. You got it. All right. Anything else from either of you? Oh yeah, I want to say this. Vancouver Golden Knights in action tonight, 4 p.m. puck drop. So we're gonna watch that pretty soon, actually.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Will it be fun? I don't know what the other team's like. All I know is that home opener is going to be really tough to top. That was a really good hockey game, and I know we broke it down already, so we won't do it again. But will it be as fun as the home opener? I'm gonna go on a limb and say it probably won't top that one. But I'm excited to watch this one. Who are they playing?
I believe they're in Ottawa tonight.
In Ottawa. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I don't think Ottawa's a very good team, so maybe it will be fun. I just want I want to see a nice PWHL blowout for the Golden Knights. Just put up a 9 spot on the Ottawa Charge.
Easy.
Let's go. Let's get to our Bet365. Okay, now, am I allowed to bet on the PWHL? I'm not allowed to bet on the Canucks, but can I bet on the Golden Knights?
Not yet. They haven't lost a game yet, so
Okay, so
I don't want you to
don't
jeopardize
give them the
that.
quads curse. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go with. Ooh, I like this one. The better than expected Seattle Kraken are taking on the Dallas Stars. The Stars are riding high. They probably were like high-fiving and super excited about how they played against the Oilers and like, all right, boys, let's take a night off in Seattle. So plus 105, home underdogs, the Seattle Kraken. I'm taking them to beat my Dallas Stars. You can get the Kraken money line plus 105 over at Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get on the game. Use the code NATION at Bet365. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. People
You're
want to see a
fraudulent
basketball bet.
Kraken.
No, they're not fraudulent. What are you talking about?
You're fraudulent.
They're second in the Pacific. They're 1 point behind your precious Ducks.
Doesn't mean that they've been good.
They have 11 wins, Harm. What are you talking about?
Sure, and just because a team is good through the 24 game mark doesn't mean that they're actually a good team.
They have a -2 goal differential, and they've been riding a really strong home record. They're 6-1-3 at home, and only
We've
5.
been dealing
They
with a
have-
ton of injuries.
They're on a bit of a PDO bender as well.
Oh,
If you look at the 5-on-5, the highest 5-on-5 save percentage in the NHL. Meanwhile, their underlying numbers.
Sue them.
Yeah, I'm sure you said the same thing about the Canucks and thought that was totally legitimate. They're okay. So you want to look at 5-on-5 expected goal share?
No, I don't actually. Thanks for asking.
31st Vancouver Canucks, 30th the Seattle Kraken. So I'm not buying that the Kraken have turned a corner.
All I know is I had to write it down, Jacob moment about the Kraken, and it's looking pretty damn good. American Thanksgiving's tomorrow, Harm, and if I learned anything,
that
it means
benchmark
the Kraken
that benchmark doesn't matter this year because it's way more tightly compressed than usual.
You're probably right. I'm riding with my Kraken, baby.
These
get
are
it
your
done
Flames
tonight.
of last year.
Yeah, who were right, and I was right about the Flames.
They
I
didn't
called
make
it
the
earlier.
playoffs though.
Oh, whatever.
You said they were going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, but you already said like, oh, I'm not taking a dub on that bet because
I'm not taking a dub, but it doesn't mean you were right either.
Oh, that's not how I took it. But
No.
anyway,
I mean,
See,
neither
I
of us
agree.
were really right on that
yeah,
one.
but I was.
You know what? I was just a year early on the Flames. That's what it was. I was just a year early.
That's fair. That's fair. You did call that. All right. Yeah, I don't think we have anything else. Swerve and Irvin said, roll Donnie and Dolly backward 40 years in age, and it's basically Canucks conversation. All right. I think I'm Dollywall in that situation. So, anyways, all right. Anything else from either of you?
No, I think I'm good.
Jacob, we're good on feud surveys?
Yeah, everyone did a very good job this week. We got it filled up, I think, Tuesday afternoon. So we're good. We're going to play feud. Very busy show tomorrow. We got a couple guests.
I didn't even
and
mention
feud.
Riccio.
Yeah.
Dan Riccio joined the Nation Network, by the way. We want to welcome Dan Riccio to the Nation Network. He left Sportsnet 650 last week, and he's moving back to Toronto. He's launching a show with Cabby Richards and Lindsay Dunn out in Toronto, and we're very excited for it. Jacob sent me an actual script I was supposed to say.
You can save
Right?
it for tomorrow when we actually talk to him.
I'm not going to read Riccio the script about the show called Off the Roster.
After he's on, you do the ad read to promote the show. You know that, Quads. Come on.
Dude, I'll talk to you after. There's no way I'm doing this ad read. The ad read starts with, are you the kind of Toronto sports fan who rides every high? What do we talk? Anyways, we got to talk to our marketing people, Jacob. But Dan Riccio, if you want to hear Dan Riccio, he'll be on the show tomorrow, and then you can check out his podcast, Off the Roster, with, like I said, Lindsay Dunn and Cabby Richard. It's going to be really, really cool. It's going to be a really fun show. Hey, you know what? Actually, I should read this because there's a lot of Toronto sports fans in the chat. Remember the Blue Jays? They'll talk lots of Blue Jays. You go get your precious Blue Jays talk. over there. Now I'm pooping on the show, so maybe I should just stick to the script. But anyways, excited for Riccio to be joining the Nation Network, and we will, we'll talk to him tomorrow, and I've got nothing else. All right. We'll close it out there. For my co-host, Harmon Dial, our technical producer, Jacob Lazar, our thanks again to Patrick Johnson. Go buy the book, Gino, The Fighting Spirit of Gino Ojcik, in stores now. My name is Dave Virgelli. Thanks so much of Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.